Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the iFi GO Blu. So much like the Go Bar, this is more about me than you. I had actually wanted to hear Go Bar, I wanted to hear GO Blu, and iFi has a great loaner program, so that is how I got my hands on the Go Blu and the Go Bar. So many thanks to them for doing that. So we're not going to do a full-blown review. I think I just wanted to talk about my thoughts about this one like I did with Go Bar. So let's kind of start with what it looks like up close. This is a very, very nice looking device. On top, you can see the 4.4 balance and 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks. On the side is the distinctive multifunction wheel knob. I forgot what they call it, but it is a volume dial. Plus, you could do play, pause, skip, go backwards with the button as well. On the back, we have more writing that you can only see under the right lighting conditions. So you can kind of see the button over here. That does your X space and X space, and also does your pairing if you hold it in. There's a Go Blu logo, which you can only see when the light shines on it. And then there's a power button, which is the one right there. On the bottom is another LED that lets you know that the power is actually on, and the USB-C for charging and using it as a USB DAC, which I did quite often because it actually works quite well for that. So again, why did I want to take a look at Go Blu and hear it? And a lot of it has to do with, number one, why do people keep talking about this one? Why do people keep on buying it? Why does it get so many awards? And a lot of it really comes down to 1A. It's the sound. When I heard it for the very first time, I'm like, wow, they actually pulled off pretty much a Burr Brown, Texas Instruments, OPA style, relaxed detail sound without having any Burr Brown chips in it. I think if you look at iFi's portfolio of products, they use Burr Brown quite often, and I think that is pretty much what their house sounds like, and it's something I'm very familiar with and immediately noticeable with this one. It sounds very much like a portable DAC amp as opposed to a dongle. So I think that is exactly why people keep on buying it, keep on talking about it, because it really sounds like, it really resembles some of their bigger devices that may have an OPA 1612 or other OPA series. It's just I call it this relaxed but detailed. These are not Detail King OPAs. They're not sharp or analytical. They're very much, I always call them relaxed detailed. They're very non-fatiguing. They're very long session. They're not purely uncolored. They have some warmth to it. But when you listen to them closely, all the detail is sort of there, but just not really forced. Not really in your face, but I don't really have any better way to describe it other than relaxed but detailed. So while the price tag is high, I do think people are just going to gravitate to this one just because of that sound. It's a very familiar amp sound, headphone amp sound, even portable DAC amp sound, and I think they really nailed that sound. It's really kind of odd. If you've heard other USB DAC amps like this, we'll talk about the Q5K. And that one doesn't really have a distinctive sound to it. It's sort of a transparent, neutral, kind of what you're expecting. And then to hear what Go Blu sounds like, I'm like, wow, that actually sounds more like a headphone amplifier with a very specific up amp chip to it. It's very unique. I thought it was very, very cool and sort of got exactly why people keep on buying this one. Second, X-Bass. Yes, I talked about X-Bass before. I do like it. I know you can do it in EQ. I think it still sounds good, and it still does lend just enough warmth to those slightly sharper sets with just a button click. And much like Go Bar, this one does it very well. You just push the button, you get 6 dB or so of bass, and just that little bit of warmth to a lot of sets with one click, I think is actually a pretty cool function. And this one does cut out the complexity for a plug-and-play, great sound experience. No app support on this one. You just pair it and hit go, and that's pretty much the only thing you really need to do. Very much idiot proof. If you've used a Q5K, that one's a little more complex to really dig into the app. This one is pretty much pair it and go, and so I do think they sort of nailed that really cutting out the complexity, making it as simple as possible. Not many options. It kind of announces what your connection type is. If that connection type isn't what you want, you can change it, but it really cuts out all the complexity and just has it kind of working right out of the box. Some very nice user experience, like I was just talking about. Experience touches, that multifunction dial. It's actually quite intuitive, pretty much how you were expecting it to be with the play and pause, double click for skip, triple click to go backwards, volume dial. Lots of cool functions with one little knob. I think they really nailed that part. Very intuitive. Doing the BT announcement, the connection types on BT was actually a pretty cool thing that you don't see very often. But especially if you have an Android phone and you want to connect it LDAC, but it connects it aptX, at least it tells you that you're connected to the wrong one. You don't have to go through the control panel to figure out how you're connected and then change it. This one actually gives you a sort of pre-warning as to how you're connected, which was actually a pretty cool idea. And again, this one button to cycle through. So Go Bar had a very similar single button click that actually goes through X space, both. And then this one has pairing, but they sort of nailed those range of functions on one button. So again, that was another thing that they've done quite well. Some of the things that I didn't like as much, if you're a soundstage person and you've actually tried different DAC amps, portable dongles, and you have a very kind of a, I don't know, kind of a gut feeling for how sets should sound, big or small, or this sounds a little bigger than it should, or smaller than it should on this dongle. This one didn't really strike me as expanding the stage as much as I thought, especially for the price. I thought Go Bar was actually quite a bit better especially on the height and the width. This one just it's actually pretty good, but it didn't really blow me away. There wasn't, again, I would say the sound is super solid. I think this part is super, super solid, but really missing that wow moment of, wow, this feels like I paid $200. The soundstage is much bigger, it's deeper, clear, has some depth to it. This one didn't really strike me there. So again, the sound is solid, missing that wow moment, and maybe it's just missing the Go Bar's treble range. Something is slightly different, and I think Go Bar really nailed that bit as far as sounding for the price. And this one, I think Q5K actually does a better job at doing a bigger stage when the set should have a bigger sound stage. So interesting. So PCM audio data up to 24 bits, 96 kilohertz is something that's pretty fine for BT. Not all that common to see that for BT. If you're going to use it as a USB DAC, you know that is a limitation. Go Bar does handle the higher res bit rates like 192. It's sort of getting more common to see 192. 96 was a more popular rate, and it actually fits in with Bluetooth. But if you're going to use this primarily as a USB dock and use it on the go occasionally, just know that there is a limitation there on how high res your files can get. And I do think the price is a little bit more than similar products, and it doesn't have app support. So $200 is a bit on the pricey side, considering some of the competitors are about $100 or less. And without app support, I think some people really wanted app support. And I'm not sure iFi, that's really their thing. They didn't do it on Go Bar either. They seem to support firmware updates, but that's about as much of app support as you get. So here is the Q5K as well. So this is one, I've had this one for quite a long time, and pretty much a workhorse. It's a great reviewing tool. It does tons and tons of functions. Has the best app support of probably any device out there at that price. But comparing the two, I would say if you can afford both, I would own both, and simply for the different sound. Like I said, this one has this Burr Brown, kind of a relaxed but defined sound to it. This is a little bit more raw, maybe a little bit undefined, but boy, it sounds almost transparent and neutral and sort of exactly what you want for reviewing. So this is probably the one I would use in my personal life. It's just a more relaxing. I love the OPA sound. I'm very familiar with it. And it's just something that I like. This is more of, hey, I just got this new set in. And I want to kind of hear what it sounds like and what the ranges are and all those things. And I think this does a great job of sort of simulating what it's going to sound like on a topping or other desktop amp that I might have. So I do think the Q5K does bring out that detail in bassier sets. Like I said, it's a little more neutral. I tend to pair things. I counterbalance things. So on bassier sets, I'll use something like this or a topping, which balances out the bassiness. This would be more for a brighter set where you just want to reduce that brightness down a little bit, a hair, and that's where I think Go Blu actually fits in pretty well. So I think Go Blu is perfect for those brighter sets, like I was just saying. This one is definitely better for the basier sets. If you wish it was a little hair more relaxed, definitely Go Blu. If you like that a little more energy, a little more transparency to it, I think the Q5K is a great choice for that. But as far as a long session, no fatigue, you want to impress people with something like this sitting on your desk, I do think Go Blu sort of nailed the look of it, the feel of it. I love this slightly rubberized black plastic. It's kind of one of my favorite materials for some crazy reason. But yeah, I think the haptics of it, how it feels in the hand, and everything about it, the look, I think all that is very top notch and right along what you would pay for $200. This one is under $100, and it's simply black plastic, kind of utilitarian. But man, it's really still unbeatable on the application side and offers that really insane amount of functionality if you deep dive into their application on your phone. Go Blu offers that simplicity if anyone can plug it and hear a great sound in 5 seconds, but you don't get PEQ, you don't get a ton of control panels and power settings, and there's just an amazing amount of functionality that they keep on exposing through the application that's all kind of hidden away and behind the scenes. On this one, you don't have access to it. It probably does all the same things. Well, there's no PEQ, but as far as high-low gain and all those other things that maybe it's doing behind the scenes and maybe it doesn't, this one exposes all that. And if you deep dive into it, you can do all those things as well. So there's something nice to the simplicity of it, and I kind of get that as well. But it's also nice to have access to everything when you need it. So would I trade my Q5K for Go Blu? Probably not. I think the Q5K is still super useful for reviews, but I'd probably take this one on a trip where I just want to relax and enjoy music and not deal with anything. I think it is a perfect set. And again, like I said, I'm super familiar with that sound, so it just strikes me as very pleasing and appealing and enjoyable. So I absolutely get why people love this one and keep on buying it and keep on talking about it, why it won all the awards it won. It all makes perfect sense when you hear it. So that is what I got on Go Blu. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.